Hi, welcome to the Libertarian Alternative. My name is Mark Selzer, and the Libertarian Alternative is an educational television show brought to your community by the Libertarian Party. Today we are very honored to have with us Robert Ringer, the best-selling author of The American Dream. It's called
Restoring the American Dream. Right.
Winning Through Intimidation.
Right.
And this is your new book, Action, Nothing Happens Until Something Moves. Now, is there any other books that people may have heard of?
Looking Out for Number One, Million Dollar Habits. There have been a string of them. I even wrote a 650-page Microsoft Word reference guide, believe it or not.
Yeah?
Yeah, no philosophy there, but a lot of understanding of Microsoft Word, yeah.
So you know computers very well as well.
Well, it's kind of a layman's approach, yeah.
Would you say that you have a lot of books on success, and would you say that knowing computers is a good way for a person to succeed? Can that be a strong element?
I think having a certain amount of computer knowledge is unavoidable today if you want to succeed, yeah. And I just gave a presentation in Florida where I talked about that. It was on time management, and a significant part of it was understanding how to use a computer and how to use Microsoft Word. I was amazed at how many people who use Microsoft Word every day don't know how to use macros or templates or bookmarks or auto text or autocorrects, and don't know how to file their emails and organize their emails. And
that's something I need to do. I use mostly the delete. I use mostly the trash.
Yeah,
but you know,
they really don't understand emails. And I was going into Outlook Express and all that. I was amazed how little people knew and how much they were interested in learning. But and I always thought it was a hard sell, and it probably is. But yeah, I think it's important today because the whole focus of success is how many hours you can spend on productive projects. And Peter Drucker said there's only two ways to make money: innovation and marketing. So most of your time in an ideal world would be spent on innovation, or what I call product development, and marketing. And in order to make those hours available, you have to squeeze time out of everywhere else. So what most people can, I'm not high tech, but what most people can do in 3 hours in Microsoft Word, I can do in somewhere between 3 minutes and 30 minutes. That gives me more time to work on productive things.
I learn, a little bit every day on my computer. Every time I go to the computer, I hope to learn one more thing. And slowly but surely, I don't have to call my friends who are computer techies as much as I used to.
Right.
I can do some of it by myself. So what is this? This is your newest book. What is this about? What's the essence of this? This is about looking out for number one. That's almost controversial now to say that. We're all supposed to be part of a group. And
yeah, that's all hogwash. When they say,
go into that. How's that?
The media, what I call the fabrication machine. I mean, they just make stories up out of nothing. Totally. Probably the only thing I'm sympathetic with Hollywood types on is when they cry and complain that stuff that's printed about them isn't true, because in my little bit of experience as a public figure, I find it amazing. They just create things that aren't true. I mean, so I believe those Hollywood stars. It's probably the only thing I believe about them when they say that things are just made up. Anyway, how did we get from that to action? You asked me a question. I feel like Homer Simpson's father now. I'm totally confused.
Looking out for number one.
Look, you got to look. They talked about that. I'm sorry, I didn't finish answering the question. They love to talk about the 70s was the me generation, the 80s was the generation of greed. It's total nonsense, it's absurd, it's a lie. Every generation is the me generation, every generation is the greed generation. The high-tech, young 22 to 32-year-old kids that are out there today, Googling the world and making billions, they are the most avaricious, business-oriented, killer instinct people that ever lived on this earth. This is the me generation. This is the greed generation. It's existed since the days of Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, Jesus, Confucius, Buddha. the media just makes this up. They're looking for stories all the time.
And that's how, I think, that's how you help the group and society better as a whole, is to succeed yourself.
Absolutely. And one of the few things that Michael Douglas ever said that was correct is he said, greed is good.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that was just such a horrible line, and he was playing this bad guy, Gordon Gekko. Well, greed, if you look up in the dictionary, is excessive desire. Mm-hmm. And every person on this earth has a desire to do more, to have more. And as Ayn Rand would point out if she was here, who is to say what's excessive? Mm-hmm. You know, a pinhead, and I use that word on purpose, like Bill O'Reilly gets on television, the ultimate grassroots guy, and he says, it's outrageous the oil companies are making $5 billion, this and that. Night after night he says, there should be a law to make them, to cut their profits by 20%. And I sit there and I say, that's interesting. Not 22%? How about 23? How about 18? No, he says, I'm Bill O'Reilly and I say it's 20%. And I think, boy, that's really great to be omniscient. How did he know it's 20% that should be cut?
But that would just cut 20% of their jobs out of there.
Well, that's a secondary issue. The point is, as Ayn Rand said, who shall decide? Mm-hmm. You know, greed. Greed is excessive desire. I can't tell you how much desire you should have. You know, it's none of my business. If I want to ride a bicycle and you want to drive a Rolls Royce, that's your business. You know, it's
And as long as we're not in a corporate welfare economy, there's a lot of that out there.
Oh, I thought we were.
I like to talk about Bill Gates. You know, Bill Gates got rich by making a bunch of other people rich.
Right.
You know, and making a bunch of other people independent, getting computers in every household,
right,
and making this thing, putting this thing in people's home. It's basically a wealth and independence machine.
Absolutely.
He made his pie bigger, not in the way that we're normally told, that he's cutting the slices out of other people's pies and putting it into his. He's making his pie bigger by making other people's pies bigger.
His paltry little 52 billion or whatever it is nothing. It's a spit in a bucket compared to the untold trillions of dollars he's made for
others,
billions of people around the world. And by far, the people who have benefited the most are people that are in villages in Africa. Mm-hmm. They could never have conceived of having computers. Now they're talking about, Microsoft's talking about building a computer that would sell for under $100 for places in like Africa and Asia where they have power outages and it doesn't even need power to run. I mean, that it has a, did you read about this? A crank. Oh, you read about it. So we've all benefited. Big corporations have benefited. But proportionally, and please tell this to your liberal friends who are confused, the people who have benefited, conservatives who have benefited the most proportionally are the poorest people.
Mm-hmm. And those are and that's looking out for number one, succeeding, because you need to provide something in the world that other people is going to make other people's lives better.
Right, you can't.
That's how you succeed.
You can't succeed unless you find a way to give other people what they want. That's the shortest route to success. Find a way to give other people what they want, and they'll give you what you want, which is usually profit.
Now, was your first book that was very successful, was that Restoring the American Dream?
No, that was Winning Through Intimidation.
Okay. Now, what was Winning Through Intimidation about? That's an interesting
Now, Winning
title.
Through Intimidation, I got scorched for. That was one of those great media fabrications. And they basically described me as the second cousin to Adolf Hitler. What's his name? The guy with the hair mousse, Ted Koppel, anointed me the apostle of intimidation. Well, as all the millions of people know who have read the book, it's not a book about how to get ahead by intimidating other people. It's a book about how to get ahead by defending yourself against intimidating people. So I always wanted to rewrite the book, and I finally did a couple of years ago after 25 years. And I said, if I ever rewrite it, I'll retitle it. And it's been retitled To Be or Not to Be Intimidated, That is the Question. So it takes that, I'm the first to admit it was mistitled. And if you go on the internet on Amazon.com, even today you'll probably see 10 or 15 people who say the book's been mistitled, it was mistitled. It's not a book about how to get ahead by intimidating other people.
but it worked because it did get you, the title evidently caused some controversy, and that probably led to some people at least taking a look at the book.
Right, and that was an ongoing debate I used to have with my publisher. You know, she said, "But that's the reason it sold and all that."
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to do over again, I'm not sure I would relinquish the sales because it wasn't worth it over the. It's long term, short term. Over the long term, it wasn't worth it because it painted me as a person, as someone who I'm not, and it painted the book as a book that doesn't exist except in the fictional minds of the media.
I think I should probably read it. You know, people often do get very frustrated with me that I don't get intimidated by them. So that's something that maybe I should read more of it just so that I'm less intimidatable. But now, Restoring the American Dream, after that was
Looking Out for Number One was my
Looking Out for
second.
Number One.
And then was Restoring the American Dream.
Now, what was Restoring the American Dream about?
Restoring the American Dream was the first big, and maybe the only, I don't know what's happened since then, the first big commercial book on libertarianism. It was basically a libertarianism, a treatise on libertarianism. Mm-hmm. That's what it was about. So
what is libertarianism in your estimation? Can you sum it up quickly?
Yeah, sure, I can sum it up quickly. It's having the right, having total sovereignty over your own life and your own body and your own mind, having the right to do anything you want to do, anything, including carrying a gun down the street, a loaded gun, so long as you are not in any way aggressing on the rights of other people. And unfortunately, it's a theoretical philosophy. It doesn't work in real life because you can never get all the Saddams under control to think the way you do. So then we get into this whole debate, and you know, it was real good what we saw with Hugh Downs today and other people, Harry Brown. You get into this whole debate, what do you do about these wackos like Saddam and bin Laden and so forth?
You know, I heard someone explain it to me very well just recently, although I can't remember who it was, but he said, you know, the people in Europe make fun of us because we have the right to bear arms here in the United States, talk about us as being these primitive cowboys, but you know what? Our right to bear arms is one of the things that has kept, you know, a Stalin or a Hitler from coming to power here in the U.S.
Yep.
You know.
Yep, it's a tough debate. It's a tough debate. You know,
the Europeans have produced Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, Franco. We haven't produced people like that, and that part of that I think is the fact that we are such individualists and so unconquerable as a people.
Well, you know, Harry Brown was in there talking a little earlier, and I don't know. It's a tough position he takes. That no matter what it is, Hitler, Stalin, Saddam, bin Laden, Hillary Clinton, all the worst people in history, that you're better off to reason with them and not use force. And I hope he's right, but I'm not, well, first of all, it's never going to happen, but I'm not convinced that works. I'm not convinced. That's why I call myself, I feel like I've evolved into a theoretical libertarian practical conservative.
Well, you know, I always say that a libertarian is a pacifist that carries a gun just in case.
Right.
You know? And I'm sure that if you do have to defend yourself by using force, you know, I think that then you have to. But unfortunately, people are not looking for as many peaceful solutions as they can, and always moving incrementally towards what they're talking about is best. It always, for the Libertarian Party to be the advocate of, can we solve this peacefully?
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what.
Absolutely. You know? If there's any way to do it peacefully, you do it peacefully. I think that's what the debate is about with the war in Iraq. You know, was it really necessary?
Yeah.
And
as time goes on, its staunch supporters show us that you know, Harry was right. I think a lot of people are coming around to that because he shocked a lot of people, because the conservatives were listening to us about that point a lot. And then when Harry Brown came out saying, "Oh, this war is not going to work, it's not going to succeed," and you know, I have to agree. You know, I drove through Watts the other day, and after 40 years and $40 billion of government programs, it's still a slum. And
Yeah.
I think the same thing if I'm driving through Iraq 40 years from now, after $400 billion, it's still not going to be democracy, because I think that area has no history of democracy.
Well, first of all, we make an arrogant assumption that everyone in the world wants democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And as Churchill pointed out, and I'm paraphrasing, democracy is a horrible system of government. It just happens to be the best one we've thought of. But it's the best one we've thought of. But, you know, like Bin Laden said, he said, and I'm paraphrasing him, not to compare him to Winston Churchill, but didn't he say something like, to us, morality is more important than freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's, if somebody doesn't agree with the way you think, it's incomprehensible to us, you know. Democracy is, in theory, a great system of government, but there's one flaw in democracy that most people are either not aware of or just don't want to hear about, and that is, it is legal. It's a legalized lynch mob, is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. If you have brown eyes and I have blue eyes, and I'm in the majority, 52%, we can vote, you know, to have you eliminated.
Right, and that's why in this America, when we say democracy, what we really mean is a constitutional republic where the laws you can vote in are carefully restricted by a constitution.
Yeah, except
so
that
that you protect.
Right, but
the
the
minorities
activist
from the
judges
majority.
are kind of
Yes.
making a mockery of that. So.
You have activist judges on the left and the right, the center, everyone's got is trying to, I mean, the Constitution is supposed to prevent that. But unfortunately, we're not paying as much of attention to the Constitution as perhaps we should.
Right.
From,
right.
I think, a libertarian point of view.
I agree.
So how can we do that? How can we restore the American dream? What is what was the thrust of that book about?
Well, the only hope, as I said in the book, is education. There is no other way to do it, and I don't know if that's possible anymore. You see, we've come so far down the road to collectivism, and as Ayn Rand pointed out years ago, there never has been a laissez-faire society ever in history.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we've gone more and more in the other direction. You know, did Reagan swing us back to the right? Has Bush swung us back to the right? I don't know, because when you really look at their policies, take something like Social Security. Now, anyone that has any intelligence at all knows that Social Security, this business of, oh yes, we'll take 4% and we'll invest it. No. Social Security will, in its totality, will be eliminated. The only question is when. Will it be 30 years, 40 years, 50 years? It's a scam.
When I go in to talk to high
it's a
school
Ponzi
students,
scheme.
it is. When I go in to talk to high school students, I say, how many kids here think that when they get to be, 60, you're going to get your Social Security?
Zero.
None of them raise their heads.
Right.
They all
Everybody
know.
knows. Everybody knows. But politicians are shameless. That's one of the qualifications of being a politician.
Mm-hmm.
And so nobody has
It used to be the third rail of politics, but Bush is the first one that touched that third rail and didn't go down. He's not going to get the program that he wants.
But 4%, you're going to give people the right to invest 4% of their money? How nice, how generous.
Right, and it is, I think, actually, it's something that he took a libertarian, I think from the Cato Institute, and twisted it, and I think that the way he would implement it, what would happen is he would corporate welfareize a large part of the economy rather than actually give people the choice of where to put their money. Because I think it would be the people that you would be told where to invest your money, which would be even the opposite of, even worse than Social Security.
There's only, in the history of the world, there's only been one person who's ever come up with a total and foolproof solution for the Social Security problem. And just by coincidence, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote about it in Restoring the American Dream, which I haven't read in about 20 years. I don't remember all the details, but basically what it was is that starting at about everyone who I think I had, may have been 55, I have to go back and look at the book, may have been from the age of 55 up, you got everything that's coming to you. So we don't want to, you shut up, because you're going to get everything that you want. We don't want to hear any whining or crying. And then like 54, you were only going to get 98%, and at 53 you were going to get 97%. Until you get down to the people 25, you're not going to get any Social Security. Now don't cry and scream and yell, because you've got your whole life ahead of you. Instead of the government taking that money from you, now you be a responsible person and you take the money and you invest it yourself. And that's the real solution. You just do it on a graded scale.
And the argument is always that, oh, well, what about the people that don't? It's like, okay, yes, there's going to be people that don't, but we shouldn't run our whole society.
Well, what about people
based on
who
the
don't do
people
a lot
that
of things?
don't do, the right thing.
Right. What about people who don't put on their seatbelts? What about people who drink and drive, and if they commit a crime, you put them in jail.
So yeah, we're not going to make alcohol illegal and driving illegal because some people will do it wrong.
Right. No.
And that seems to me to be what we did with Social Security.
Right.
We took everyone's retirement money from them.
Right.
And wouldn't let them do anything with it because some people aren't going to save for their future.
Right.
And that's.
But some people are going to smoke, and they're going to. He was talking about that in there. You got cancer now. You ask me what to. People are going to smoke. I lost a sister who smoked for 40 years. Everybody told her not to. She got mad. Well, she died. It's like, well, what do you expect if you smoke 3 packs of cigarettes for 40 years? And the government's not doing anything about that.
No, they put
about
warning
100
labels and they put commercials on television.
Which is a joke, but
yes, they do. First, they take money from you and then they give it to the tobacco farmers as farm subsidies to grow the tobacco. Then they take more money from you to put commercials on television to tell you not to smoke the tobacco that you paid to grow. And then for the people that get sick, we're paying for their health care through socialized medicine, which are about 50% of the money spent in this country.
Now, you're not making fun of my government, are you?
I would never do that.
All right.
So, it does seem like we're in a conundrum of basically being very much tied in to everyone else in our society through these schemes like Social Security, like the healthcare.
Yeah, everybody's on the dole.
Yeah, everyone's on the dole.
They're
so how
hooked.
can you look out for number one anymore?
Well,
how's it possible anymore?
What you have to do, and I told Harry today that his book, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World.
And you mean Harry Brown?
Harry Brown,
who's the Libertarian presidential candidate 2 times, or 2000 and 2004, who we're talking about here.
He made some great points in his book over 30 years ago, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. It should be must reading in every school. It sounds very, quote, selfish. But the point is that what you have to do, and I talk about it in action, is you have to go about your life. And to the extent, well, actually I said it looking out for number one 28 years ago, to the extent that you can make a success of your life, you're right, not only are you in a position to help other people, but if nothing else, you are one less burden on the rest of society. So anyone who goes about his business, minds his own business, doesn't commit aggression against anyone else, and who is successful is making a great contribution to the world.
And it seems, despite some of the negative things we've been talking about in our culture, people are still holding on to that dream. Last night I was watching a show called The Apprentice, a show which I really do not like very much, and now there's other shows like that with Martha Stewart. But I was thinking, this is a good show because what this is showing is how to run a business. And this is what we should have been learning in the government schools from day one. They should be showing us, okay, all of you third graders, let's start a business, whether selling lemonade or whatever. We should be learning this from the beginning. But now we're learning it on primetime television, at least elements of it. And I thought that was a very positive thing, seeing that.
Well, I don't know. You picked a bad example.
Yeah.
First of all, Donald Trump is as anti-libertarian as you can get. He's made a lot of his fortune based on
government helping,
finagling with the government, and even to the extent that he's gotten little old ladies kicked out of their houses, eminent domain. He stands for everything that a libertarian isn't.
But
that isn't the reason he should be.
But in this show, though, he's not teaching these people how to do what he did. He's teaching them how to run businesses. Yeah. And that's good.
That's probably good. I don't really have anything against Donald Trump. The only thing that concerns me about him is I keep thinking that he actually believes he's good looking. And if he believes that, it's kind of scares you. But it shows you what a couple billion will do,
And the thing is, to do another lesson about Donald Trump that's interesting is that he, at one point, lost all his money. and he
Yeah.
really didn't have any money, and now he got it back again.
Yeah, I got him credit for that. He
So-
did. He made a comeback, but most of these guys have been down or on the ropes and have come back. I mean, Bill Gates is down to 52 billion now. He was at 100 billion one time.
That's a lot of money.
One thing I respect about Bill Gates, he never claimed to be handsome, you know.
Uh-huh.
And he was right. He's not. And
Yeah, and the thing in his hair, too. I mean, you know, it's people who are going bald, and they don't try to hide it. It looks
Trump's hair?
dignified. Yeah, Trump's hair. That really has nothing to do with our topic here. It's just,
well, I think it's very interesting. You know, we all secretly want to go up and mess up his hair.
yeah,
you
we
know?
do. That's, I guess, it's work for him, too, because everyone talks about his hair, and it's, you know, he has a sense of humor about himself, and that's good. He has a lot of fun with it. He, you know, you see the things that he does. He did pizza delivery commercials, stuff
But look,
like
you know
that.
what? I can't argue with the guy's self-promotion. It is
Mm-hmm.
probably the greatest self-promotion job
He
in
really
the
knows
history
what
of
he's
this
doing
country.
there, yeah.
He really did an amazing job.
So what would you say in closing? We have about a minute left. What would you say to people out there who want to succeed?
What I would say to them is, forget about government, forget about the discouragement fraternity, people who tell you can't do it, it's too tough, it's too hard, you need money, you need education. And it may sound corny, but the solution is in the mirror and in your head.
Mm-hmm.
That if you in your mind believe that you can do it, don't look to the government and don't look to someone else for help. The answer is always in the mirror. And if you want to do it, you can. And the reason you can do it is because as human beings, and I'm going to talk about this later tonight, as human beings, we're much more than just conscious creatures. We have the capacity to plot and plan and conceptualize and even will things to happen, and we refer to it as free will. And because you have free will, you can force yourself to take action, and when you take action, motivation will follow, because people are always saying, I can't get motivated to take action, how do I do it? Force yourself to take action, motivation will follow, because it stimulates your brain and body cells, and you attract to yourself the things, people, and circumstances that you need to accomplish your objectives.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
if you'd like more information, go to lp.org or look up Robert Ringer online somewhere, and we'll see you next time on The Libertarian Alternative. Thanks for watching. Right now.
Don't give up. There's